Jim, I was holding back this one because luckily my house has never been on fire. But I had a garage fire in an apartment building I owned, and right when I became alderman, and I ran out there, and Jim was the most calm person. He's like, it's just a small garage fire. The whole thing burned down. we get it. And I had a 55 Chevy in the garage. I said, that Chevy's worth more in the garage. I don't care about it. The car was just fine, just flooded with water. You know? But Jim was the calmest person at that scene, and kept me calm, and is the best chief. I haven't worked with a lot, but I don't think anybody will hold a torch from what I've known from Jim. I appreciate that.
The chief from the Alderman.
Jim, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure working with you when you were lieutenant, deputy chief, and now chief. Department's always professional. It's maybe one of my favorite groups to work with in the city because of your leadership. I blame you for the Cubs losing in the playoffs this year because I posted that dumb L flag on your Facebook wall when the Yankees won one time, and after that they bombed. So it's, thank you for the bad karma I got from that. So thank you, Jim. Thank you for everything you've done for the city.
Alderman Vermont.
I haven't known Chief Clinker as chief as long as some of you have, but we are almost neighbors. And I think somebody who takes such good care of a puppy and walks it so often, all the others you have, I know you've got to be a pretty good guy. So thanks.
Alderman Carr.
Jim, it's been a pleasure working with you as Chairman of Public Safety. I've been working with you for almost 5 years, and I appreciate all the time that you've spent talking to me about things I needed to be talked to about, and you always kept our meetings really short, thanks to the fire department. Jim's probably got the shortest report out of anybody in the whole city. So, best of luck to you.
Alderman.
I just want to thank Chief Clinker for so many different things that he's done. Sending his guys down to the restaurant I used to own once a week to eat. I appreciate that. We had an opportunity here at one time to appoint you for our chief. Some of us said no. But apologetically, I voted yes, and I still would vote yes again today. Thank you for your service.
All right.
I've known Jim since our kids were in Little League together, which was a couple years ago. I said at that time, what a great guy he is. And he hasn't changed one iota from that first time we met. What a relationship.
Alderman Thompson.
Mr. Clinker, I remember when the mayor, the alderman here, wanted to reinstate you for another term. And there were aldermen who were here who voted against that. But I was one who voted yes. I would vote yes for you to be reinstated. And I do remember before you were fire chief, when my husband was ill, and the team would come to my house and get my husband. My address seemed as though it would pop up in the system, and you were right there, you and others, to help him. And I appreciate that for all those years, Mr. Clinker. I wish you all the success in your new endeavors.
I'm just going to add my congratulations and enjoy your retirement. You've always been around the city and visible at many things that don't have anything to do with the fire department, including things like planters and all these other events that happen in town. You were always there, so that was great. So enjoy your retirement, and at least you'll not have to not drink because you're on duty.
Any other aldermen comments? Again, Chief, thank you from the bottom of my heart as a person and also as mayor of the city of Blue Island. Thank you for your service in the city that I know you love very much, as well as your wife and your whole family. Thank you very much. Enjoy for the rest of your years. And I know the rest of your years will be even better than the years, the 32 years that have gone by. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No business.
Mr. Treasurer.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I want to thank, we have two guests that I've invited under the invitation of Foster and Foster to report to the fire police pension, report to the corporate authority, and then also we have the library director here. So I would, Foster and Foster, please. Please, thank you very much for being patient.
Want to just bring the mic down towards you? That'd be great.
Absolutely.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for calling me. I just have some numbers I want to go through quickly with you regarding the police and fire pension funds, some of the financial information. So Foster and Foster has been hired for the past few years for Blue Island to calculate the recommended contribution amount to keep the fund solvent and make sure the payments and such can be made to the retiring firemen and police officers. Okay, so the numbers from last year, if we look at the fire plan first, and I'd like to start with that plan because it's in a slightly worse position than I think the police plan is, so I'd like to end on the high note. Last year, we recommended a contribution of about $1.2 million to the fund. The city was able to put in about $827,000, so about 70% of what we recommended was put into the fund. So what happens is when that number is below our recommended amount, the additional amount gets rolled over and re-amortized into the new contribution for this year. So that was part of the increase that we saw year over year, but we did see about a 12% increase in that contribution for the fire pension from the past year. So it's about $1.34 million at this point in time as our recommended contribution amount. Part of that, as I said, is because of the shortfall from the recommendation in the prior year. There are a few other things that will naturally make this number go up. There is an assumption called the payroll growth assumption. Most funds in Illinois do use this kind of assumption, and what it basically does is it coordinates the amortization payment on the past funding deficiencies. So on the liability that's already been accrued in the fund, to the extent that the assets don't meet that liability amount, you do need to pay down that amount, similar to how you would pay down a mortgage on a house. And so there's an assumption called the payroll growth assumption that will basically push that contribution up every year by a certain percentage. And in this case, last year you were assuming 4.5% increase in that every year, which is going to guarantee an increase in that payment year over year. We did drop that assumption to 4%, which will lessen the increase going forward. However, it does mean a bigger contribution as a starting point this year, which also increased that amount. A couple other things that did increase that year over year, we did see returns on your assets that were less favorable than we assumed. We were assuming a 7% return on that fund. The return on that fund was lower than that, and therefore you did see an increase in that contribution as a result of that as well. A couple things I do want to point out with respect to your fire fund. At this point in time, it's about 24% funded, meaning that the liabilities that have been earned in the fund to date have assets covering only about 24% of those liabilities are supported by assets at this point in time. That's probably on the lower end of most of the funds that we see, so there is some catch up to do on this fund in terms of being able to get the asset base up. The other concerning thing about the fire fund that I wanted to point out is that the benefit payments that you're paying out of this fund, so the actuarial value of assets in this fund is about $5.2 million. You're paying out about $1.4 million in benefit payments each year, which means that in the ballpark, about a quarter of your assets are having to be liquidated on an annual basis to be paid out. And if you think about that, if you're not earning enough, and if you're not able to supplement that fund and fund the contributions to this fund, that's only 4 more years if the fund was not to grow or change that you'd be able to make benefit payments. Now, you are making payments payments. You did put $827,000 in last year. You will get some earnings on that fund, but remember the markets do go up and down, and that's something just to be mindful of as you're looking at the funds here. So, from the perspective of the fire fund, that's more concerning. The reason that the benefit payments are a little bit higher as a percentage of the assets in this fund is that you do have a higher percentage of the liabilities in this fund that are due to people who are already retired or not active in the fund any longer. That's almost 80% of the liabilities in this fund are due to inactives, which means that there's going to be more of a drain on this fund due to the benefit payments. So something to be very mindful of on this fund. But again, the contributions went up from the $1.2 million last year recommended to the $1.34 million recommended this year. About 75% of that contribution is due to this payment on this unfunded amount. So to the extent that that is ever paid off, your contribution would be much lower. That's being paid off though over a 24-year period. So it will take some time. 24 years is very typical in the state of Illinois. That's not unlike other funds, but something to be aware of, that the majority of the contribution is sort of a catch-up payment on past funding that needs to go into the fund at this point in time. Okay. If we were to look at the police fund, it's similar story in some respects. So last year we were recommending a contribution of $1.98 million to this fund. The actual that went into the fund was $1.45 million, so about 73% of what we recommended went in. So again, there was a bit of a shortfall from the recommendation, meaning that it will increase the contribution this year. So the contribution that we recommend for this year is $2.18 million, so it's about a 10% increase year over year. A few things that contributed to that increase were, again, that payroll growth assumption. So every year there's going to be this natural increase in the unfunded payment of 4% now that we've lowered that assumption. We did see contributions less than recommended, which pushed that up, and the expected investment returns were lower than the 7% that we're assuming in the fund as well. So to the extent that the assets don't earn 7%, there will be losses that will get pushed into this and increase this contribution as well. So that was slightly offset by salary increases in the fund that were lower than our assumption. So we do have to make long-term assumptions regarding what we think that the salary of your workforce for the police and fire will be, and to the extent that those are lower than what we expect, that those will be gains to the fund and will help that contribution amount. So again, similarly, we did decrease that payroll growth assumption. In this case, your fund is about 29% funded from a funded status perspective. So that's looking at assets divided by the liabilities that have been earned to date in the fund. So at about a 29%, almost 30% level. For the police fund, this did increase year over year. So you're seeing that funded status improve. That was not true in the fire fund. You actually saw a slight decrease of about 1% in that fund year over year. So the police are making a little bit of progress. In this case, the inactive population is about 63% of your liability, so it's a little lower. So your drain on the benefit payments aren't going to be as steep. In this case, your benefit payments on an annual basis are about $1.8 million, which means you have to deliver cash out of your fund of about $1.8 million to pay for your retirees. The assets in this fund on a market value basis are $10.6 million. So about 17% of the assets on an annual basis are paid out as benefit payments. So it's not as high as it is for the fire fund. So it's a little bit, your assets will have more time in this fund to work for you than in the fire fund, that you might want to watch a bit closer for that reason. So did you guys have any questions regarding the numbers at this point in time?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And we could have the director of the library, please. Thank you again for being patient.
Can you hear me? I'm Tony Waltman. Thank you for asking me to come. I was basically asked to talk about the library a little bit, so I have a short sheet. I'll keep this very short. First of all, I always tell people that it's not your grandma's library anymore, and that's true, but we do still have books. And so just a few numbers from 2016, we actually had 73,000 items go out of the library. We had 219,000 people come in the library. 42,000 internet sessions. So our library is still very busy. When you walk in, there's a lot of people in there all the time. We had 75 people attend programs in 2016 as well. In addition to books, we have many non-traditional items available for checkout: board games, instruments. We have ukuleles. We have Kindles that are preloaded. We have a seed library, which is maintained by Annex primarily. We have hotspots, which you can take on a trip if you want to take the internet with you, or for people who don't have it at home, you can take it and use it at home for a couple of weeks. They're all for checkout. We have STEAM kits that one of our librarians wrote a grant for, so they are themed STEAM kits, different educational disciplines. You can get a microscope, you can get a telescope, you can get various art supplies, and they're good for classroom use if teachers want to use them in a classroom or family project. We also opened our makerspace earlier this year, and basically we cleaned out a storage room, gave it a clean coat of paint, got some used furniture, and invested a little money in some supplies. You can use things like a Dremel tool, which I don't know how to use. What else? We have a bottle cutter, soldering iron, leather working tools, all kinds of things for any kind of DIYer that wants to use this space. You have to be over 13 years old and sign your life away so that you don't hurt yourself, basically. Also this year we did a complete revamp of our tech annex, and if you're not aware, we have a recording studio in our tech annex, and we have the software for budding musicians to create their own music and edit it in that space. But we did a whole coat of paint, and we got some refurbished carpet, so it's a new space and it looks very professional. And we also recently, as of Monday, purchased, with also grant money from Best Buy, a 3D printer. We got a Cyber Monday deal, so we're very excited to bring that into the library when we have that. We had summer reading this year, which we have every year, and we got thousands of dollars literally worth of gifts and prizes for. We had White Sox tickets, and we had all kinds of things, including bringing the Jesse White tumbling team to Blue Island in the middle of the summer. So we had over 117 people come to that event. We also offered summer meals. We participated with the Greater Chicago Food Depository and the Illinois State Board of Education this summer, and 2 days a week with no cost to us, just good soul effort. Provided meals for 18 and under 2 days a week, and we provided meals for over 200 and some people, which I'm very proud of. Also, just so you know, we're not just spending money. We actually did all this, and we came in at the end of FY 2015, we spent $25,000 less than the previous 12 months. End of FY 2016, we spent $94,000 less than the 2015, and despite having to replace our sump pump earlier this year, which is a non-glamorous but necessary purchase, we will be under budget this year. So, if you have any questions for me, that's what we do.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director, for coming in. You said you have the library has ukuleles. Are the
ukulele.
Is there a class, a lesson that's offered?
Just check it out. It's an item to be checked out.
You take it home with you?
Yes.
And play?
Yes.
Wow, awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
I'm singing piano lessons right now. So maybe
All of it?
Yes, how you doing? Do you have a relationship with the Blue Island Recreation Center, the John D. Recreation Center, or do you plan to have one in the future?
I know that we bring materials there for interested for events that we have going on in our newsletters there. We don't go to a lot of other places in the city necessarily, but that's one of the things we do is we go there and bring stuff. We do the same thing with the Park District. You know, just let people know what's going on at the library. So if you have suggestions, I'm certainly willing to.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? No. Pass it back to our treasurer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Both of the speakers, I appreciate the information.
City Attorney business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to address a comment that Alderman Bellato made with respect to Section 3.1-30-5 of the Illinois Municipal Code. There is nothing in that section of the statute that precludes a mayor from voting on an appointment. Moreover, I did some quick research. There were two cases in the 1980s. One, people of the city of Elmwood, ex-Rel Maness and Corson, and the other, Rhodey versus Washington, the now deceased former mayor of the city of Chicago. In those cases, both indicated clearly that when an issue is the confirmation of an appointment made by the mayor or a vote to amend the council's rules, the mayor may vote in order to break a tie, and the mayor's participation in the process in both an executive and legislative capacity does not violate the separation of powers doctrine. So with respect to each of the appointments, even though the mayor probably did not have to vote, certainly by voting, he did nothing inappropriate and solidified the appointments with an eighth vote. So as to the two appointees, Mr. Rita, now Fire Chief Rita, and Mr. Marzell, now Director of Finance and Administration, your appointments are secure. You both have 8 votes.
Not interested in making open discourse with the attorney. He's very capable. I've known him for many years. I just want to state it wasn't a tie vote, and that was just my point. Thank you.
Anything else? Committee reports, Community Development Committee?
Yes, Your Honor, the Community Development Committee met on November 16, 2017. The meeting was called to order at 6:07. Present were Alderman Hawley, Mulatto, Osling, Thompson, and Farausto. Absent were Alderman Johnson and Rita. Also present were Mark Miller, Bread and Bottle, Natural Law Cocktail Club, and Benny's Gaming. There was no public comment. The meeting was called to order to consider liquor license applications to make a recommendation to the mayor. The application for the Blue Island Seafood Restaurant at 12601 Western Avenue for a Class B license was reviewed. After discussion, it was passed. It was recommended to issue a license. All were in favor, and motion passed. The application for Bread and Bottle, 2213 West 119th Street for a Class AA license was reviewed. The owner spoke and was asked to keep the closing hours to 9 p.m. He said he would do that. A motion was made to recommend issuing a license. There were 4 ayes and 1 nay. Motion passed. The application for Natural Law Cocktail Club and Eatery, 13404 Old Western Avenue for a Class B license was reviewed. After discussion with the owners, it was recommended that they apply for a Class A license. Mr. Miller said he would make that change. A motion was made to recommend issuing a Class A license. All were in favor. Motion passed. The application for Love on the Blue, 12454 Western Avenue for a Class B license was reviewed. After discussion, it was moved and seconded to recommend issuing a license, but to consider changing their hours of operation to be 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. All were in favor, and the motion passed. The application for Betty's Gaming Cafe, 12125 Western for a Class D license was reviewed. After discussion with the owner, it was moved and seconded to recommend issuing a license. There were 3 ayes and 2 nays. Motion passed. There being no further business, it was moved by Alderman Mulatto and seconded by Alderman Frostro to adjourn. Motion passed, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:43 p.m. Our next meeting will be Thursday, December 7th at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers.
Thank you. Finance Committee?
Finance meeting was called to order on November 21st at 7:05. Members present, Alderman Hawley, Farnwell, Thompson, Vieira, and Osling. Absent was Alderman Frosto. Also present was Deputy Finance Director Lori Brown, Treasurer Carmen Bellato, CPA Consultant Dave Meyer, Commander Slattery, City Attorney Kerry Horvath, and Mayor Vargas. There was no public comment. The Finance Committee approved the following. Approval of payroll for 11/17/2017 in the amount of $352,264, and I make that in a form of motion to City Council.
We have a motion, we have a second, Alderman Vieira. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Slattery.
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Poulos.
Aye.
Poulos, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Mulatto.
Aye.
Mulatto, aye. Vieira.
Aye.
Vieira, aye. Rita.
No.
Rita, no. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Fairwell.
Aye.
Fairwell, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Pittman.
Aye.
Pittman, aye. 11 ayes and 2 nays, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Approval of accounts payable for 11/22/2017 in the amount of $713,101.92. I make this in a form of a motion to City Council to approve.
Motion, second, Holly. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Slattery.
No.
Slattery, no. Pulos.
Aye.
Pulos, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Bellato.
No?
Bellato, no. Vieta.
Aye.
Vieta, aye. Rita.
No.
Rita, no. Donahue.
No.
Donahue, no. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Fairwell.
Aye.
Fairwell, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
No.
Carr, no. Pittman.
No.
Pittman, no. 6 ayes and 7 nays.
Motion fails. Thank you, Alderman. Want to go on? Go ahead.
Okay. Approval of chem check. This is an asbestos inspection at 2427 127th Street. This is the old Blue Island Nursing Home. The estimated amount is $2,000, and I make that in the form of a motion to City Council.
Motion, second. Roll call.
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
Alderman Jones.
Slattery.
Aye.
Question, yes. Go ahead. Oh, that's fine.
Point of order, it's not on the agenda.
What?
It's payable.
What?
Was there a revised agenda?
It's not on the agenda?
It's payable.
It's payable, it's not.
The what's not on the agenda?
The motion you had just made.
The chem check is
Right.
not on the agenda.
No.
Was there a revised agenda?
No, I don't have the, I don't have the agenda in front of me. I guess we can,
Yeah.
okay.
The next thing on the agenda is the tax imposition, and that's the same thing in the packet too.
All
Okay.
right, go ahead. Move on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is that we had a discussion with Dave Meyer, the CPA consultant, on the 2017 tax levy, and I have asked Mayor Vargas at this time to make a recommendation.
What is it?
Meeting of the whole.
Oh, the meeting of the whole, that's correct. In discussing that, I want to announce that a meeting of the whole will be on December the 5th at 7 p.m. to discuss the levy and Moraine Valley's request to waive permit fees.
Today again.
December the 5th at 7 p.m. here in the East Annex.
And Dave Meyer will be there.
At 7 p.m., right?
7 p.m. Okay.
Thank you.
We also have an approval of the tax anticipation warrant ordinance recommendation to City Council to adopt the ordinance, and I make this in the form of a motion.
Motion, give us a second. Alderman Viera, any questions? Go ahead.
It's just a little thing. I noticed under section 5, transfer, exchange, and registry, there's actually a typo. It says, upon the surrender for transfer of any such warrant, the city shall execute, and the registrar should probably say shall, but it says stall. So that should be good. And I just want to say, there's a phrase in here that does bother me a little bit. It says, upon surrender thereof with a written instrument of transfer satisfactory to the registrar and duly executed by the registered owner or his duly authorized attorney. I'm thinking that if any money would be transferred, it should be by an officer of the city, so either yourself, the treasurer, or the clerk, and not an attorney.
No problem.
So if we could have that taken out.
Did the bank say specifically that it had to be that way, or is it transfer?
On payment last time.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I
sign off.
I look back over the last several years, and actually, this has been pretty much just copied and pasted because that same typo is in there.
Okay.
So,
All right, we'll make the correction. But again, either myself or the treasurer.
This refers to is the warrant being transferred by the owner of the warrant or their attorney, that attorney is authorized.
well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, I don't feel comfortable. I think an officer of the city should be handling the money. So either the mayor, the treasurer, or the clerk.
Warrants are only warrants under the treasurer's business. Okay? If it's a transfer of money, if it's for bond payment, or any transfer that large amount of money, I have to okay it through special code. If it's only for payroll, as of right now, or previously, the deputy director and the deputy director of finance sign off on the payroll. But on any bond payment, any major transfer stuff, I got okay. Now, that's for the.
That's what Alderman
What
Carter
this is
said.
referring to is if the holder of the warrant,
The bank.
brings it to the city, either the holder or their duly authorized attorney can surrender it to you. It has nothing to do with the city issuing warrants. I would suggest that before you do anything other than correct what might be an error in preparation and the spelling of any word in this ordinance, that it first be clarified with the bank was going to be loaning the money to the city, because Alderman Carr, I think what you're referring to is if the holder of the warrant, which is the party, in this case the bank, which is going to make the loan to the city, brings the warrant to the treasurer and said, or has their attorney do that they can, their attorney can act on their behalf. This has nothing to do with the attorney or the city issuing a warrant. So I would not change the language of the ordinance without first making absolutely certain that the bank that's going to make the loan will approve it.
We have a motion? A second? Alderman Bureau? Questions? Roll call, please.
Slattery.
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Kulos.
Aye.
Kulos, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Bellato.
No.
Bellato, no. Vieta.
Aye.
Vieta, aye. Rita.
No.
Rita, no. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Bernwald.
Aye.
Bernwald, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
On the condition that that be looked into? I'll
I'm
say
sorry,
aye.
what?
On the condition that that be looked into?
Yes or no? Aye or, it'll be looked into, but if you have to vote yes or no. You can't make a conditional vote.
I'll abstain then.
Carr abstained. Bittner.
Aye.
Bittner, aye. 10 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
No further business, meeting adjourned at 8:15. The next meeting is December 5th, 7 p.m. East Annex. This is also the meeting of the whole to discuss the 2017 tax levy.
Yes, Your Honor. We held our meeting on November the 14th. Present were Director John Rita, Chief James Klinker, Deputy Chief Michael Cornell, Commander Kevin Sisk, Commander Jason Slattery, Alderman George Poulos, Alderman Matt Pittman, Alderman Kevin Donahue, Alderman Dexter Johnson, who arrived late, and myself. Also attending was Treasurer Carmine Bellato. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. There is a motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting by Alderman Donahue, second by Alderman Poulos. Motion carried. There were no citizens' concerns. Under the Fire Department, Chief Klinker commented that dispatch services through Orland Park Fire Protection District are instantaneous. In October, we had 236 EMS responses, 17 general fire alarm response, 20 minor fire alarm response, 43 auto aid response, 24 man the stations, 1 mutual aid fire response. Medical reimbursement services collected for $36,516.94 in the month of October. For calls of interest, on October 7th, there was a stove fire on Grunwald. October 9th, stove fire on Vincennes. October 9th, dryer fire on 142nd Place. And on 10/31, there was a brush fire. Under general information, firefighter Cipriani applied for non-duty disability pension, and his fundraiser was held November 26th. The fire department and the police department took part in the Untouchables Parade. The fire department held an all-school fire prevention education class at St. Benedict. Annual preventative maintenance was done on all 12-lead Zoll monitors. Firefighter Jay Kaufman started October 23rd. The fire department hosted the MSMC head trauma and stroke class. And new firefighter Jason Warren is completing pre-hire testing. Fire prevention inspectors completed 16 annual inspections, 2 re-inspections, 2 hood system inspections, 3 fire alarm inspections, 6 site inspections, and 6 plan reviews. The training division completed 358.5 hours of training for the month of October, and we're still awaiting word on the 2016 regional grant application for 12 lead monitors. There was a question asked about classes that the fire department teaches at the schools, and a discussion followed on that. Under police department, the Blue Island Police Department is preparing for the holiday season. They will have officers out on patrol ensuring that our citizens are safe. There will be extra patrols out, especially in the business district. The Blue Island dispatch system switched over to Cook County Dispatch Center successfully. Under calls of interest, on October 2nd, the police department responded to a robbery that took place at DeMar's Coffee Shop. The offenders were described as 2 black male subjects in their 20s. The offenders entered DeMar's wearing dark-colored clothing, armed with a firearm, believed to be a black submachine gun style Tech 9. The offenders demanded wallets and purses from the victims while searching them, and took a car key from the pocket of one of the victims. The victim's vehicle was recovered 2 days after the incident. On October 6th, one offender was taken into custody and charged with armed robbery and aggravated battery by Blue Island. The second subject has been identified, and the investigation continues. Under training, the police department has received training in dealing with DCFS and requiring responses from its offices. In miscellaneous, the Blue Island Police Department is currently working with the Light Parade Committee to ensure the safety of our citizens and to make it a great community event. I mentioned this last time, but we had just found out, so it was actually part of the meeting before, but Deputy Chief Cornell has been appointed to the board of the South Suburban Emergency Response Team. Under the 911 Center, the go-live date for Cook County Dispatch was November 13th. Commander Sisk said that he has had nothing but positive response regarding the new CAD system. The department wishes to thank all the 911 staff for their dedication and commitment to the safety of our residents. Commander Slattery, Commander Sisk, and Deputy Chief Cornell on the smooth transition. For health and sanitation, in the month of October, 24 health and sanitation inspections were done. The businesses and schools that were inspected were in compliance. Under Alderman's concerns, Alderman Poulos expressed concern about the streetlights being turned off for the Christmas light parade. Director Rita outlined the safety precautions that are taken. Alderman Poulos also asked about drug testing for employees. Alderman Donahue requested that a representative from BIEMA attend the public safety meetings. Alderman Johnson asked about weight restriction signs for Cooper's Grove Road. There was a motion to adjourn by Alderman Donahue, second by Alderman Pittman. Meeting was adjourned at 6:33. The next meeting will be December 12th at 6 p.m. in the East Annex.
Thank you. Municipal Services Committee?
I hope this report will be well received for no other reason than it's the last one. I was trying to keep this. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Alderman. Municipal Services, we just met at 6 p.m. before the meeting, so I have minutes to follow. So no report. All right, you're up.
Judiciary Committee. All right, here we go. I'll keep it short. Judiciary Committee met Monday, November 20, called to order 6:01 p.m. Present were Alderman Farnwell, Poulos, Vieira. Also present is Commander Jason Slattery, Police Department. Public comment, Commander Slattery, on behalf of the Police Department, requested that the Judiciary Committee consider development of an ordinance that would provide reduced penalties for possession of cannabis in small personal consumption amounts. Such an ordinance would be separate from and not negating penalties for cannabis DUI offenses. The committee agreed to consult with the city's legal counsel. There were three landmark designations recommended, which you have in your packets: 12914 Elm Street, 2547 Walnut Street, and 12846 South Maple Street. Motion to approve, Alderman Vieira, seconded by Poulos. The voice vote, motion carried. I'd like to make that in order form of motion.
Okay, motion to second by Alderman Vieira. Any questions? Want to repeat the motion?
To approve three landmark designations.
Approve what, I'm sorry?
All right, then we'll put it on the next one.
Next one, okay, that's fine.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, just real quick then. Chairman reminded the committee that Director Rita previously suggested that the committee might want to consider enacting a requirement for annual renewals of handicap designations. The committee agreed that the chair should request the assistance of legal counsel to develop such an ordinance. And Chair informed the committee that Carrie Horvath plans to attend the next Judiciary Committee meeting to discuss updating of the city's ordinances. There was a motion to adjourn by Alderman Poulos, seconded by Vieira. Voice vote carried, 6:13 p.m. The next meeting will be Monday, December 18 at 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. Any aldermanic announcements or comments? Go ahead, Alderman.
I just wanted to mention, Commander Sisk brought in this information about the smart 911 system. He's got brochures in the back if anybody wants to pick this up on their way out.
Alderman Hawley?
I mentioned Rayanne Quintel-Zillman as part of the committee for the parade and day. I just want to recognize everybody because everybody's worked really hard, and basically this has turned into a meeting all year round. So I just want to thank Alderman Osling, Alderman Bahia, Sandy Miller, Tom Miller, Colleen Walton, Rayanne Quintel-Zillman, Tom Mantell, Christine Hawley, Laura Campione, Jerry Campione, Aaron Disabedo, Bobby Gruca, and Greg Loco. They've all worked really hard for Saturday, so
Thank you, Mayor. Addressing to the students in the crowd that have been with us for almost 2 hours now. As a government person, teacher, I just want to say what you witness, I agree with my other alderman, debate, discourse is the foundation of democracy. And anybody that disagrees with that or moans in the audience, because some of us vote no, some of us vote yay, we have questions, that's what democracy is. And you should do that. You should do that with respect to your teachers. So you should ask questions and debate. This is something that we should be proud of as a country, a democracy. So I'm glad the last few meetings we've had questions and debate.
Okay, I also would like to recognize the students from Eisenhower, so shout out for you guys. Nice job. Nice to see you here. Also, I neglected to mention this at the last meeting. I am collecting again for an Angel's Touch. It's families helping families. Please donate your favorite box of cereal. You can drop it off. I'm sorry, the deadline is December 8th. You can drop it off here at during business hours, the clerk's office, City of Blue Island, or at the Calumet Township Community Center, 12633 South Ashland in Cal Park, or State Rock Rita's office on 2353 George Street. I truly appreciate everybody who has donated, and if you could please donate again, thank you.
And Alderman, on behalf of the residents of City of Blue Island, Angels Touch, again for your commitment to that program throughout the years. We applaud you.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to let the citizens of Blue Island that they missed a great Super Bowl game last weekend. The Untouchables played first time since 1983 that we had all three teams make it to the Super Bowl. The Widget and junior level played hard and took second place. They lost in the fourth quarter in the last 3 minutes. But our Pee-wees, they're second to none. They are 2017 Metro League Super Bowl champions. A couple other announcements, questions actually, and statements. We talk about hiring from, within Blue Island. Sometimes it's very difficult because besides the two gentlemen we just hired, how many more directors live in the city of Blue Island? Next thing is, we also need to give them breaks, especially our first responders and things of that nature, to purchase homes in the city of Blue Island, whether they're foreclosure, land bank owned, straight out, whether it's a FISBO, which is a person selling their own home, or from a realtor. But I think we should try to look out to help these guys out. You know, it might be hard for our fire chief family, because he got a pretty good sized family there. But, on a brighter note, to try to bring them home closer, because my thing is, if our directors live in Blue Island, and I've said it before, they have a vested interest instead of punching a time clock and going home to another city. That's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Alderman Farrell.
Just real quick, want to note that Giving Tuesday, another announcement about a worthy cause is that together with Alderman Hawley, we have started a campaign with Val Kehoe on the, what do you call it?
Tree canopy.
Tree canopy. No, the GoFundMe. To help restore Blue Island's tree canopy. We started it this weekend. We are, as of tonight, right on the verge of breaking $1,000. We got a $10,000 goal. So we'd really appreciate if you go take a look at that at GoFundMe. Just type in Blue Island, it'll come up. And please consider giving 5, 10, 20, or more. Anything you can do would help. It's really important that we keep this tree canopy, not just because it looks nice, but because it's an important economic asset. It reduces energy costs. It actually helps save the streets from sun damage, keeps our pipes free, and also purifies the air we breathe. So it's a really good cause.
And it's also Blue Island going green. Think big, right? Alderman.
I forgot to mention before, and Alderman Rita reminded me when she mentioned Angel's Touch, the police department is having their Fill the Cruiser drive this Saturday, December the 2nd, from 11 to 2, right out in front of the police station. You can bring donations to Angel's Touch, non-perishable foods, but give all your cereal to Nancy. Toys for the kids, hats, scarves, whatever you'd like to donate, they're willing to take it. And I believe that the fire department or the police department will be serving hot chocolate, but it might be a little too warm for that.
Thank you very much.
Council, if I may, I just want to address this evening, the motion to approve the accounts payable failed. It was a total accounts payable of $713,101.92. You may not want to reconsider the total this evening. You may want to consider removing those bills that were offensive to any of you and then voting on the remainder. We do have a Prompt Payment Act in the state of Illinois, which requires municipalities generally to pay their bills within 30 days. But I'm pointing that out to you. I'm not telling you one way or another how to do this, other than there are probably some bills in there that bothered certain of you. There may also be bills in there that you normally pay. If you do not pay them this evening, the next meeting you have as a city council is on the 12th of December, which is about 20 or 21 days from now. You may, because of that, be incurring some interest and penalties. You will also, at some point in time, have to reckon with these $700,000+ in bills. And I'm just pointing that out to you as you're lawyer this evening, so that if you want to reconsider paying any of these bills, I know it's been a long meeting, a long evening, but some of these may be worthwhile taking some consideration of.
City Treasurer.
I just have a question for the city attorney. Is there a clarification of contractual bills cannot be held? Is that only from the committee level, or is that from the corporate authority? Contractual, and there's $300,000 or $400,000 there, those are contractual. So the corporate, if they're contractual, again, I don't want to bring this up, I'm not the expert, but contractual have to be, just like utility, insurance, salaries, certain things have to be paid. They can't, now I know the committee level can't hold back. I don't know about the corporate level.
My suggestion, Mr. Treasurer, is that those bills that must be paid should be reconsidered this evening and authorized by the city council. That's the proper way to pay bills. If you have to take them out one at a time. I don't know what's in that stack of bills. I don't know what you refer to as contractual and what is
contractual is like the garbage.
We also have a committee of the whole of December 5th.
Water. Utilities.
It's up to the city council what they want to pay and what they don't.
Thank you, Mayor. Chairman Osling, is there a bill on the accounts payable to Bert Olson's firm? Because if there is, I'd like to have that one not for approval, and we can approve everything else.
I can assure you there isn't one in there. And if there is, I'll be happy to withdraw it, but there isn't one in there.
Okay. Then because I voted in the negative, I believe I can make the motion to reconsider.
No, you voted with the majority,
Oh, I voted, okay.
so you can make a motion to reconsider. Only.
But is there for sure not a Bert Olson bill?
There is a for sure not Bert Olson bill indeed.
Gary, Mr. Horvath, I trust you, I believe you, but I would like to hear it from. Well, you have it in front of you. Is there one in there, Chairman? No, okay, I believe you. So I'd like to make a motion, we
As I'm not a member of finance, we don't get a copy of the bills. So until I get a copy of the bills, I'm going to vote with my current alderman, who's always voted no. I voted no with him today, Mr. Dexter Johnson. If he wants to change his vote, I'll change my vote too. But I've always.
Alderman Donahue made a motion to reconsider. The next would be if there's a second.
Second. Any questions? We got a second.
Slattery.
No.
Slattery, no. Poulos.
Aye.
Poulos, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
I like that.
Bellato.
No, you're good. No.
Bellato, no. Ada.
Aye.
Aye. Rita.
No.
Rita, no. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farinwald.
Aye.
Farinwald, aye. Osling. Osling, aye. Thompson. Thompson, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Pittman.
Aye.
Pittman, aye. I'm glad I'm such a popular attorney. Thank you very much for paying your bills. That would create much more work for me and a much larger bill the next time around.